Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me again today for another live Q&A session. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel is dedicated to those of you just getting started out in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you some techniques and tips and tricks that I use every day in my own voiceover business, and I answer your questions in these weekly Q&A sessions. If you're not new here, then you know that every week we have a poll. And this week, the poll is, what is your revision policy? Now, I've already seen some of the poll responses, and I did include a what is this response. And just to explain quickly, a revision, of course, is a change in your delivery, right? It's important to have a revision policy to share with a client because you want to explain what your definition of a revision is. Because sometimes, as we know, you'll be given a script, right? And you might not have received a whole lot of direction as to what kind of tone. You're left sort of on your own to interpret and determine what sort of tone is necessary for this script. Or maybe there's a difficult word that you need help with pronunciation, or in a foreign language, perhaps, that you don't really know how to pronounce, right? So, and you deliver the script, and maybe it's wrong, maybe it's, just to clear everything up, you want to first, let me just say first, you want to ask the client what kind of tone, pacing, what is the purpose of this script? Who is the audience, right? Who am I as the narrator? You want to ask for all of those things up front in terms of pronunciation, foreign languages. You can even ask the client for maybe even an audio clip of them saying the word to help you out a little bit. But if there is, in fact, a revision at some point, you want to have an idea and give the client an idea, an expectation up front of what an actual revision is, because your definition of revision is change in tone, pace. Of course, if you flub and say a word incorrectly, that mistake should be fixed, free of charge, of course. But if there's a change in tone or pace or anything that is performance related, that could be changed, right? For a few words, a couple of sentences, maybe you could speed it up a little bit. You can also, you could even prorate if there is, a change to the script, but a revision is not a change to a script, right? I think I got ahead of myself a couple of times. But a revision is really just a change in tone, pace, performance perhaps, but it is not a change of script. And I think that is where a lot of the misunderstandings come from between the voice talent and the client, is because the client is hoping that a revision is a change of anything, right? Is a change of not only performance, tone, or pace, but is also a change of script. And that is not the case. Change of script is another job. It's above and beyond what you've already agreed to do, right? So what I always recommend is that you not only have a revision policy written out to supply and explain to the client, but you also want to include, if you're on a place like Fiverr or Upwork, where there's an opportunity for you to lay out, hey, I need to receive your final draft of your script, then you're setting the expectation that I need a final draft edited. You're happy with it. This is how it's going to be. Anything above and beyond that in terms of words, right? Word count, any change of script is going to be an additional charge. And you can prorate that, as I was saying before, any which way that you want to make it easier on the client, to build a relationship with the client. But a change of script is not a revision, right? That is additional work, so to speak. So you want to have something laid out, written out somewhere in an FAQ, somewhere in your description. You want to have something written out somewhere that you can provide to the client and explain to them that this is what a revision is. And this is what we do in case of a revision, right? You're stating any mispronunciations, any flubs, of course, are on me. I will fix those. But if there's anything, change of tone or pace for X amount of words is included in this revision, right? And you can include in that policy how many revisions you'll provide, right? If you're on a place like Fiverr where you can define up front how many revisions you offer with each order, then that, would be a good opportunity for you to include that in your revision policy also. If you offer 1 revision, 2 revisions, unlimited revisions, however you want to do it. So after all of that, God, first tangent of the day. Okay, let's go over and see what everybody says. Okay, so 27 votes so far. Do you have a revision policy? 41% of you said yes. Fabulous. Fabulous. 37% of you said no. And 22% of you said, what is this? Hopefully, after all of that blah, 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 you'll finally maybe understand, or maybe it sparked some sort of an idea of what you could say in your revision policy. So I hope that helped you to figure out how to create a revision policy. Good gosh, I am on a roll already today. Sorry, guys. All right, let's head over to the comments and see who's here. Eric is first in. Hello, Eric. Hello. I have a revision policy, but fortunately, I haven't had to really use it yet. Unless you count the odd mispronunciation here or missed word there type of thing. That could be, it's technically a revision, but it's not something that you would call like it's a flub, right? A missed word or a mispronunciation. But again, in those situations, if you have a script that has words that are difficult to pronounce, or if it's an audiobook and everything in it is made up names, made up places, you would definitely want to get the author to phonetically spell out these words, perhaps, so they make a little bit more sense, or record themselves in an audio clip saying these words so you don't run the risk of mispronouncing them. Or if they're in a foreign language, perhaps, a foreign language to you that you aren't completely comfortable with trying to do with Google, Google pronunciations, which I wouldn't completely trust, by the way, and they're not always right, Google. It's always best to get the client involved. Screggy, hi. Hello. Rustic Hillbilly, good morning. Nice to have you here. Nice to see you. Charles Denham says, I'm new to all this. First, thanks for the videos. They are a great resource. Do I set the mic level post or pre-recording? Does it matter? The mic level, yes, it does matter. Having your mic placement and the correct gain might take a little bit of trial and error depending on where your mic is. It's not an easy question to ask, right? Because there's a lot of variables. But technically, if you use this sort of gesture, the old hang loose hand gesture, and if you use that to distance your mic to your mouth, that's a good rule of thumb for as far as a distance from your mic to your mouth. Your mic gain, depending on your processing and what it is that you're doing, is going to be something that you're just going to have to play with. But generally, if you have an interface that has, or even some of the USB mics will have lights on them, if it's lighting up red, it's too high. Your volume's too high. Your gain is too high. If there's yellow on your interface or on your microphone, that's generally where you want to be, right? You want to peek into the yellow, mostly green, peeking into the yellow, but definitely not red. I hope that helps in your situation. Again, there's so many different variables and interfaces and mics, but a lot of them do nowadays have lights to tell you, hey, this is too loud or you're good to go, right? But yes, they do matter. Hat Powser, good morning. Nice to see your little smiley face there. Good to have you. Miriam Berger, good morning. Good morning. Rowan Z, good morning. Good morning. Oh, hang on a second. We had a little super chat. Hold on. Where is it? Oh, here. Oh, nope. Here it is. Elizabeth, thank you, darling. Hi, Angela. Thank you so much for these weekly words of wisdom. Love them. Love them or the tangents. Don't tell me you like the tangents. But thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. You're a doll. You're all dolls. Pamela McDonald, good morning. Good morning, Pamela. At home with Tom and Rhonda Howard. Good morning. Hello, Angela. Thank you for the videos and info. You're welcome. And thank you for being here. I appreciate all of yous. Voiceover Klaus Kusero. Excuse me. Good golly, Miss Molly. Good morning, Angela from Cole, Germany. Ooh. I made a video testing the Sennheiser MKH416. Please don't watch it. Well, if you're going to tell us to not watch it, you know we're going to do the complete opposite and watch it. Testing the Sennheiser MKH416. That is, in fact, what is in here with me right now. I love my 416. Great microphone. Anthony is here. Good morning, Angela. Thanks for bringing the subject to the forefront. You're welcome. And I hope all of that blah, 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 blah made sense, because I tend to sometimes just... Blah. Mark Flores, my revision policy on Fiverr is that I make revisions only if I made a mistake or pronunciation error. I charge for script changes if I've already recorded and if the changes are more than 50 words. That is a great revision policy. Great revision policy, and I think that's pretty typical is what you'll see in revision policies. Thanks for sharing. That was a good one. Pamela McDonald, would ACX have a revision policy template? You know, I don't know if they do, but it's pretty much the same across the board. For ACX, and this actually came up in my Facebook group, I think yesterday or today. I don't remember, the days all blur together in my little cave of wonders here. But if, again, same thing. If it's a book with a bunch of made-up names, places, you definitely want to get pronunciation tips, phonetic spelling, a recorded, audio clip of the author saying these things to help you out. But ultimately, once you have everything sorted out and you've done your first 15 minutes, the 15-minute checkpoint, and the author gives you an A-OK, then after that, the rest of the book, if there's any words you miss or pronunciation errors, then that should be a revision. That should enable a revision attempt to fix these things, right? Because that's a mistake that you made, right? But anything else above and beyond that is not a revision. If they want something re-recorded or added, or that's an additional fee, right? That's not part of the original contract, which is kind of hard to do if it's royalty share, but that's time. That's time that you have spent for them to add more on than what was originally contracted, right? So if that's the case, then you might want to consider maybe sending them an invoice for the difference, or maybe getting ACX involved. I'm not sure exactly what happens with royalty share, but maybe you can come to some sort of an agreement with the author, right? This is above and beyond what we agreed to, so this is what we're going to do, or maybe we don't, right? But as far as a template, I don't know for certain. I know they have quite a few downloadable contracts and things on ACX, but I don't know if they have a revision policy template. It's a great question. If anybody knows, please let us know in the comments. Mary HPVO, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Mark Flores. Yeah, I think defining it properly is important. I have it described better in my requirements page. I also have an ETA in my requirements, so they know that it takes time for me to make the adjustments. Yes, also on that same note, if we're talking Fiverr, you have the ability to add additional revisions in as an extra, right? So the client can actually purchase upfront additional revisions, or you can offer additional revisions for a fee and X amount of days per additional revision as well. So there's that. But having just like everything else with a business, you want to be as transparent and set an expectation for the client up front, right? Same thing with revisions. You want to be transparent and set an expectation so the client knows up front what they should be expecting in working with you. Carrie says, "Good morning, Angela. Thank you again for all your time devoted to helping us newbies." I try. Thank you. Thank you for being here and for saying that. Ralph. Good morning, Ralph. Good morning, Angela and fellow Angelians. Greetings from Fresno, California. Nice to have you, Ralph. Thank you for being here. Angelians. Yes. Miss World Traveler. Hi, Angel from Miss T. Blessings to you and your day. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the blessings. Carrie says, I am struggling with managing my work hours, and I was wondering, do you allot time to each project you have on the table each day, or tackle one project at a time until completion? That's a great question. And I chunk things down. Let me just back up and say most of what I do is long form. So I will chunk them down and do multiple projects in a day if I can. So I'm moving forward with all of them because they all have due dates, right? It's not just, hey, maybe around this day or whatever. If we're talking like, Fiverr, Upwork, something like that, you have due dates. You have that ticking clock. So I chunk them down and I do chunks of them every day. And depending on what's going on for the day, because, we're parents, we have other stuff going on, then I will allot time every day for a section of each project and either editing this bit, narrating this bit, adding this bit to video, so on and so forth. So yes, I do. But I found that one of the most incredibly useful things for me, as simple as it is I've got an agenda book, right, with spaces for every day. Every day's chunked down. Then I can put in, if I have a meeting at this time, and then from this time to this time, I need to get this chunk of this narration done, or I need to get, edit this bit of a project, right? I can tell myself, make a list of what needs to get done today. So that has definitely helped me to break down my day and make sure that I get everything important done. And then everything else above and beyond that is just cake, right? It's just moving forward is ahead of schedule. So I allot time for everything. Hat Pauser says, love the nails. Oh, thank you. This, you can't really tell, but this is, it's a color changing, kind of catch it, but, at certain lights, they change from green to gold to purple. And I can't really catch the light just right for you guys, but it's, Finiorala on TikTok. Then you've seen Mooncat nail lacquer. That's where I got it. This is dragon scales, of course. I really like it. It's really cool, but thank you. Charles says, thank you. That helps. Good. I'm hoping I'm making some sort of sense today. Chris VGL says, I love the tangents. Don't say that. They are normally filled with wisdom and insight and a lot of blah, right? But good. I'm glad they sort of make sense. Hat says, testing now to figure out which of my cheap mics is best or worse. Blue Snowball Ice, the mono mic that came with a podcaster kit from a while back, or an old Samson QIU I still have hanging around. I'm not entirely sure. I do know of some voice actors, a small number, but still nevertheless that have used the Snowball for some time. I'm not really familiar with the others. I want to say I've heard of them, but I don't really know much about them. But the Snowball I have heard people using for voiceover. I think as you go along, you're going to get better and better at your craft and start to make more money. And then you can upgrade your equipment. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with these, but I mean, you always have the option of upgrading later, but just work with what you've got, right? If you have a mic, you have something to work with, then just start building from there. But again, the most important thing that you can remember is apart from your equipment, your recording space is going to be one of the more important aspects to getting your sound right. And then while you're, after you've treated your space, meaning you reduce the echo, you've got your mic close enough, you've got your gain dialed in, right? You eliminated noise from your space. Then you can start to work on your performance, right? And script interpretation and character accents and character voices and all those sorts of things. So all of this stuff just takes time. But I'm really not familiar with the other two, but the snowball, I know some people who have used them for a long time. Screggy says, "Hey, I'm back. My name is Screggy." Oh, did I say it wrong? I'm sorry. I don't have my glasses on. Nice to meet you, Screggy. At home with Tom and Rhonda, Howard says, "Is that a silver pop filter on your mic? If so, what kind?" It is. It's I think it's 2 layers of mesh. Yes, it's not a traditional circular pop filter because you wouldn't be able to really see me. It would be blocking the camera view, so I opted for this one. And as soon as I bought it, and I think VoiceOver Van Deen, who I'm hoping is here and can tell us what it is again, but he's mentioned a couple times that you could find it at a certain place. I don't know where that is. But anyway, this one in particular, as soon as I bought it, someone had said, "Hey, where'd you get that?" And I went to go look and it wasn't available anymore. But I want to say it was a Rycote pop filter. I could be wrong, but I think there are some of these still out there, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm hoping VoiceOver Van Deen pops in and says, "Hey, this is where you can find it." But I would, where did I find this one? It wasn't on Amazon. It was on a website. I'm going to have to see if I can find where that was. JCC AOL says, "When it comes to foreign languages, how strict are they with accents? I know when it comes to nonfiction in regards to English, I know many have a standard on how words are pronounced." It really depends on the client. Some of them will let you get away with your maybe passable attempt at the accent. Some of them really want you to nail it. If it's if there's dignitaries or something going to be there, or, high profile people, they want the accents spot on. So that is when it really helps to have the client send you an audio file of them saying the words so you can try your best to emulate or mimic that, right? Yeah, it's client dependent, right? It's not always, they're not always strict, but sometimes they are. Where am I? Grant. "Good morning, Angela and everyone. Just got notification my first audiobook is available on ACX, Audible, and iTunes. Congratulations, Grant. I remember we were talking about you just getting that book. Congratulations. That's cause for celebration. Huzzah!" Hat says, "At JCCAOL, not sure what your accent is, but I can tell you that ACX Producer Search offers a huge list of accents, so someone can specifically look for yours." Oh, for like your native accent, perhaps? Chris VGL says, "Do you record a chapter and edit it, or do you record the whole book before editing? I'm not sure what to do." Me personally, I have found that as you go along, you tend to find new plugins that work really well. You tend to uh, find new shortcuts. You find a new way to massage your effects rack, right? You may see something in a YouTube video that just goes, "Oh my gosh, I should totally try that. And it'll help me reduce my noise a little bit better," right? And so then you go, "Oh my gosh, it does work," after you try it. And you're like, "I'm going to start using this from now on." So you don't want to be midway through an audiobook when you make a discovery and then you actually find that you can improve the way that your quality of sound. You've already got half an audiobook sounding one way and then the other half is going to sound another way. So to answer your question, I tend to record the whole thing and then maybe, and then apply all the effects and edit it at the end. I have done it both ways. I have done it where I have recorded a few chapters and then maybe the air conditioner's on or something and then I'll edit. But I'll edit something else now instead of working on the audiobook. I'll wait until it's all completely recorded And then whatever my effects rack is at that point, and I don't do this very often, but you never know, right? When some new plugin's going to come out and it's just going to make you sound amazing. It's going to reduce that noise floor that you've been trying for months to try to fix, right? So that way, everything is recorded. Then you can apply the same effect from chapter to chapter to chapter, right? Because you don't want to change the sound or the quality of an audiobook midway through. So that is what I have come down to doing, is applying all the effects and editing last after everything's recorded. That way it's all sounding consistent, if that makes sense. But if you don't foresee you changing anything about your rack or your effects or anything like that, if you're fine the way things sound, then you can record, edit, and, as you go along. It just depends on what you're comfortable with doing or what works with your schedule. Vaping Mike says, if you have multiple audiobooks going on at the same time, how do you get into the flow of each book? Do you find it difficult to change characters or narrative voice? I have to say that most of what I do is self-help, right? So I don't really have that problem a whole lot, but I don't find it difficult, even when I do have characters. If you do have characters, and maybe a lot of characters, what I have found that really helps is to have a snippet of each character voice on one master file, you can call it character voices for, XYZ book, and then keep that in your folder with all the rest of your audiobook files. That way you can go back to that and reference which character sounds like what. But if it's like a complete change of tone, I think is what you're getting at, from book to book, then that just takes me having to just sit and reset, maybe go and take a break between each one and start remembering, or to come back into the studio and read through what I've already read to get back into the kind of feeling or the tone of what I was narrating. Again, whatever really works for you to get back into the flow, but I generally don't have that problem, since most of what I do is self-help or like biographies and autobiographies and things of that nature. Viva Las Tangents. Elizabeth. No tangents. William Meyer says, I'm new with trying audiobooks. Do I make a demo with 3 different books at 1.5 minutes each and post it to ACX? Then what are the steps I take after that? I would make, if we're talking ACX, I would make a sample, each genre a separate sample, each read a separate sample. I wouldn't make like a compilation demo for ACX. I would make each sample different and then post that individually as that specific genre, or read or type or, character or whatever it is that you're submitting. That way it makes it easier for whomever's looking for you to find exactly what they're looking for. Because if they're looking for a horror book, but it's at the end of your compilation demo, the title of your compilation demo might not say anything about horror, right? And so they will never find you. But if you broke that compilation demo into separate bits and then named each one a separate genre, read, character, whatever it is, then that'll make it easier for the rights holder to find you for the appropriate sample. And then after that, I would keep adding more samples and recycling them, right? As soon as you post an ACX sample, they're posted chronologically, right? So as soon as you post it, you're up at the top of the search or the available samples, the sample list. And then you could recycle those. So at the end of the week, at the end of a couple days, the end of the month, you could repost it again and have a fresh sample and be up at the top of the list again. And then, of course, adding new samples is definitely going to help you too. And I always say that the samples for ACX, make sure that they're titled appropriately. Don't name it My Audiobook Demo or something like that. That tells the searcher nothing about your sample. Yeah, you have all of the filters that indicate what kind of sample read it is, but they want to see that the title is going to reflect what kind of read it is. If it's, male-female dialogue, or if it's a self-help book, if it's a children's book, or if it's a spicy book, then put that in the title so the searcher can easily find you, right? By going through all of the samples and they go, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to take a listen to this one. I hope that makes sense. Tangent number 2, 3, 5. Charles says, do you master your own audio? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I do. Miss World Traveler says, struggling with payments. Who sets the type, narrator or client or both? Does it make sense? Does it make sense to use multiple platforms? Example, PayPal. I have PayPal and Payoneer, but I think PayPal is a little bit more widely accepted just about everywhere. So I use PayPal Business to send invoices to clients. But in regards to your first question, who sets the type narrator? Who sets the type? Do you mean like for ACX, if it's royalty share plus, or PFH? That would be you and the client would have to come to an agreement on that. So if the client approached you and says, hey, I really love your voice. I would really love for you to narrate my audiobook, but I would like to do this royalty share. If it's like 100,000 word book and you're not interested in doing royalty share for something that large, you could offer them, well, I would love to narrate this for you, but let's talk about perhaps royalty share plus or per finished hour. Royalty share plus is a little bit easier to swallow if, they're just starting out. They don't have a whole lot of capital to invest in an audiobook. But you don't have to just take whatever they offer. You can counter, you can negotiate with clients, I think is what I'm trying to say. But if it is royalty share plus or per finished hour, you're going to have to use invoices. ACX won't collect that per finished hour rate for you. You're going to have to invoice the client for that. So you will need to have some sort of a PayPal, Payoneer, something, QuickBooks, some way to send them an invoice and collect that money. The only money that ACX collects for you is in royalty share payments. So every sale that is made on Audible is collected and then split between you and the author and then deposited into your account every month. But any kind of per finished hour rate is going to be collected by you via invoice of some sort. I hope that makes sense. Oh, we have another super chat. Sean Lester, thank you. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. It's very kind. Viva la tangents, right? Thank you, Sean. Lost my place. Ralph, congrats, Grant. Yes, indeed. Congrats, Grant. Masonry Construction says, people living in Los Angeles are known as Angeles. I thought they were Angelinos. Those who listen to Angela are considered Angelanos. Angelanos. That's funny. You guys make me laugh. Joy West says, hello, Angela, and everyone from Calm before the storm, Michigan. Oh, no. Is you guys about to get a good one? I'm ready to sign up for ACX. Do you have a tutorial on how to sign up for it on your site? I don't have a tutorial on how to sign up for ACX. Although if memory serves, and sometimes it does, it was fairly easy to sign up for ACX. It's a sister or a subsidiary. It's an arm of Amazon. So you can use your Amazon credentials to sign up for ACX. The only thing you have to keep in mind is that there's 2 different roles that you can sign up for on ACX: the rights holder or author, and then the narrator producer. You want to be the narrator producer if you want to narrate audiobooks. So that's how you want to sign up. You can't have like a duplicitous role. You can't sign up and then do both. It has to be one or the other. So make sure that you sign up as a producer. But apart from that, it's fairly easy. You fill out, your name, your bio, any titles that you've narrated, if you have any. And then you decide whether or not you want ACX to collect tax for you, or if they're, if you don't want them to, and you're going to handle the taxes. What else? Oh, and what bank account you want them to deposit the royalty share payments into. Fairly standard stuff. Profile picture, the usual profile fare, basically. Doesn't ACX, I'm sorry, Miriam says, doesn't ACX or right holders require you to do one chapter and send that in edited and then start on the next chapter? No. Most narrators will upload everything when it's done. The only thing that you're going to upload and wait for the rights holder to approve is the first 15 minutes. After they approve that, as long as you narrate the rest of the book and produce it similar to the first 15 minutes that they approve, you're good to go. You don't have to narrate and upload one after the other. You can do it all at once. Hat Pauser says, I think I misunderstood that accent question. LOL. I probably misunderstood it to start, so don't feel bad. My top search result on ACX right now is a book that wants 4 different specific UK accents. Good luck, somebody. Yeah, that wouldn't be one, because, I'm not that great at accents. I mean, I could do them in my head, but getting them out of my mouth the same way, it's not doesn't always work. I don't know why that is. I don't know why I can't get around that. But yeah. Grant says, your pop filter is a Hook Studios Octo 84S2 Plus. Thank you, Grant. There you go. It's available at B&H Photo Video. There you go, guys. Go get one if you have a shotgun mic. Come on, mouth. Let's get to it. Miss World Traveler says, topic, client narrator communications. Yes, that is a good topic. How do they, the client, send you audio of their preferences for the project? Example, name, pronunciations for project, email. It depends on what platform you're working on. If it's on ACX, Upwork, Fiverr, you have the ability to upload files, right? And if there isn't a way to do that through the platform, because you don't want to violate terms of service, right? If you're working through a platform, like Fiverr or Upwork, you need to stay on the platform. Don't get caught going off platform. But if it's someone that reaches out to you directly, or if it's ACX, they don't have a problem with you communicating via email. It's you're getting a project done, right? So they can email those to you. They can put them in a Dropbox and then send you the link, Google folder, a Google Drive folder, WeTransfer. I mean, there's a few different ways to go about that. Yeah. VoiceOver Van Deen says, yes, I'm here along with the frog. Thank you. I appreciate you. There we go. Hook Studios Octo 842S. Still available from B&H Photo. There you go, guys. I should probably write this down, right? Hook Studios. Hook Studios. It is a Octo 842S B&H. There you go, guys. VoiceOver Van Deen. Thank you. I appreciate you being here. I'm glad you were here. And you brought the frog with you. I appreciate you. Vaping Mike says, I have the same pop filter. Picked mine up at B&H Photo Video. It's called the Hook Studio. Thank you, guys. See, you ask and you get. Beautiful. VoiceOver Van Deen says, at Grant Bunting, LOL, I obviously need to work on my typing speed on mobile. He beat you. That's okay. That's okay. Hat Pauser says, remind me what your favorite de-esser is again. Is that the RX7 product? Sibilance is a major problem for me. I had just switched interfaces, and it could have been my DBX, although I didn't have that feature on. Anywho, I switched from using my DBX 286 and my Focusrite Claret interface to just using a Universal Audio Volt interface. And now I'm a little bit more sibilant than I was before, for sure. So maybe my DBX did have something to do with that. Anyway, side note. I use the Isotope RX10 de-esser to reduce the brightness of the sibilance a little bit. If you have a DAW like Adobe Audition that has like a parametric equalizer, there's also a way that you can reduce sibilance that way too. And there are some tutorials on YouTube. Mike Russell for sure has a tutorial on just about anything that you want to know about Adobe Audition and VoiceOver. That's a great channel to check out if you have Adobe Audition. Some of the other DAWs, I'm not completely sure, but I'm sure there are some way to reduce sibilance with something like a parametric equalizer. But if you're looking for just a plugin, then yeah, the Isotope RX10 de-esser is what I use just to, reduce the brightness a little bit. Sean Lester 007 says, I started a revision policy this week. Too many scripts were RIP and AI generated scripts that were not edited, revised, and reworked to make sense. I bill extra for editing work. That is a great point, Sean. Great point. With the new OpenAI Chat GPT, I think is what it's called, where it can just write. You just give it a prompt and it just goes nuts and writes a big old script. I would imagine we're going to see a whole lot more of that coming. So you're going to want to include in your revision policy that it needs to be the final draft. Anything above and beyond is going to incur extra charge, right? Any changes made to the script will incur an extra charge. Because really, if someone's in a pinch and they need some content written and then narrated, and they go to Chat GPT, you know what I'm talking about, the bot where you just plug in a prompt and it writes for you. A lot of people are probably not going to go through and edit that a whole lot. They're just going to skim through it and goes, yeah, that's good, that's great. Okay, let's get it out to a voice actor. And they may not take the time to look at it thoroughly enough or have it approved by their client, right? So I have a feeling we're going to see a whole lot more of that. So you definitely want to include that in your revision policy. I need your final draft. Anything above and beyond this is going to incur an extra fee. Great point. Hat Pauser says, also, I think you said Tim Tippett did a custom EQ for you. He did. Do you know if he still does them and or have a ballpark figure on his fee? Tim Tippett did do a custom parametric equalizer for me. However, that was on my old interface with the DBX and the Focusrite interface I had. He hasn't revised it for this new interface. I was trying to do it on my own, but yes, he did. And that came with his Adobe Audition Ready course, which you can find at votechguru.com. And I don't know what his current fee is, but I want to say, if memory serves, and sometimes it does, it was about $500. But with that, you got a full course and you also got some time with him to set up the equalizer and preset. Now $800 is popping into my head. I don't know if it's 500 or 800. I don't remember which. Maybe I'm thinking of Isotope. I don't know. I need more coffee. But if you go to votechguru.com, it'll tell you how much these things are. And just save me the trying to think. Miss World Traveler says ACXPFH. Yeah, for the invoices. Yeah, royalty share you don't have to worry about. But anytime there is a per finished hour discussion, that needs to be invoiced by you to the client. Mary HPVO says, I just found out that ACX does not collect money for anything but royalty shares. Yes, correct. Rowan Z says, in the process of building my booth, can't wait to get into it. Thanks for your endless patience and willingness to answer our questions, even repeats. You're my favorite person on YouTube. Oh, stop it. Believe me, I know. I get asked a lot of the same questions a lot of the time. And it does get hard to repeat myself often. But I also realize that not everybody is going to be where I am all the time. So if someone is just joining us for the first, and plus everybody's journey start date is different, right? There could be people starting today that have a question that maybe you yourself had a month or two ago. So, it's inevitable to answer the same question multiple times. But if it helps somebody to get to where they need to get to, it's fine. And maybe I can even explain it in a way that makes more sense than I did before. So who knows? It's okay. But I appreciate that. It's very sweet of you to say. Speaking of YouTube, let's go check the poll. All right, guys. All right. So today's poll was, do you have a revision policy? And let's see what everybody's saying. So we have 38 votes. 45% of you said yes. That's great. 34% of you said no. And 21% of you said, what is this? I think hopefully you all were here towards the beginning where we talked about what a revision policy was. And hopefully that makes sense to you. But you're basically being transparent with your revision policy, meaning mistakes and flubs, of course, are on you. They're free of charge. You'll make them because you made the mistake. But revisions are really just change of pace or tone, right? For a set number of words, whatever that number of words is for you. But any additional words or changes to the script that they gave you to narrate is additional work, therefore an additional charge. So you want to make sure that all of this information is clear and written, like in a place like Fiverr or Upwork, where you have the ability to include things like this like an FAQ. What is your revision policy? That would be a great place for you to type in your revision policy, right? You want to set the expectation for the client so they know up front what your revision policy is. And then also to have one in mind. So if someone asks you, you know how to answer the question, right? Good. I'm glad most of you do. And if you don't, that's okay. I'm hopefully you'll now know what to say and how to word it, right? So hopefully that will help. All right. So let's go back to where was I? Here we go. Michael V. I can confirm voiceover Van Deen. I looked on B&H and found the pop filter for $65 with free one-day shipping. One-day shipping, free one-day shipping. That's sweet. There you go, guys. Go get you one. Miss World Traveler says, I didn't realize we could negotiate. You can. You're an independent contractor. You can do whatever you want. You can negotiate it until you're blue in the face if you want. Or you can just say no. You don't have to take it, right? I didn't realize we could counter. Thank you for explaining. Newbies would not know this. And sometimes the client is new as well. We are both stumbling. And I find that very often to be true. And if you're patient with them and you're both exploring this new world together, I actually like that a lot because you both tend to be a little bit more patient, understanding of each other, right? And learning these things together. But yeah, I find that there are a lot of new authors on ACX that appreciate that time. On ACX, they offer you a choice: author, narrator, and narrator. I just signed up and those were the options. Loving your ACX challenge. A choice: author, narrator, and narrator. Oh, cool. So they actually give you the option, if you're an author, to self-narrate, perhaps? Oh, that's cool. If they change that, that's awesome. That makes things a little bit easier, right? Sweet. Michael V says, oh, I'm sorry, voiceover Van Deen to Michael V says, yep, that's the one. Awesome. Miss World Traveler says, Angela, you rock. How you help us is amazing. No, you guys rock. You guys rock for spending some time, a little bit of time of your day just to sit and listen to me tangent for an hour and a half. So thank you for being here. And hopefully you're enjoying my tangents. Masonry Construction says, if concerned about payment, you can bring that potential client to Upwork and they will manage the payment process. 10% fee, I think. You could. Yeah, I think really any platform you use. I mean, PayPal is going to take a piece. Payoneer is going to take a piece, depending on how much your money you're moving around. Everybody's going to take their piece for the service of doing that. But I would say if you're going to make this your business, I would definitely just get your own way of invoicing people and not depend on Upwork or something else. I would definitely go to PayPal, Payoneer, and just sign up for an account and get yourself an account to do that. QuickBooks, however you want to do it. You're going to have to anyway at some point to bill your clients going forward off of some platforms, right? So I would definitely have a way to bill them directly. But you're right. Upwork does, I think, have a service like that. Mary HPVO says, anyone you recommend to view on YouTube for Pro Tools skills? Pro Tools. I don't actually. I can't think of anybody who does Pro Tools off the top of my head, but I bet you anything if you just punch that into your search bar, it'll probably come up with somebody. But I couldn't tell you. Pro Tools. Reaper and Adobe Audition, yes, but not Pro Tools. Or even Audacity. There's been a couple of recommendations for Audacity. Facebook user, let's see who this is. This is Harold Harris. Hey, y'all. Still trying to stay motivated. Still no luck getting selected for a job after almost 3 months. Haven't figured out what I'm doing wrong yet. Still plugging. Love your channel, Angela. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And it is rough. The very beginning is rough. Trying to get some traction and getting out there, getting going is definitely rough. It might not be that you're doing anything wrong. It depends on how much you're auditioning, where you're auditioning, how you're auditioning. And if you're not auditioning a whole lot, then maybe the recipient, the client, was perhaps just looking for a different kind of voice. It might not necessarily be something you're doing wrong, but it won't hurt to have someone listen to your demos or to your auditions, and maybe they will hear something that you're not hearing, because we get accustomed to listening to our own voices and to our own spaces. We might not realize that there's something that's off-putting, right? Until we have someone else listen and they go, oh yeah, well, you have this, there's a TV playing in your background. Who knows what it is? I can hear a little bit of plosives, or there's some room noise or something that's distracting. So it wouldn't hurt to have someone else listen to your demos or to your auditions for feedback. But thank you for watching. Chris VGL says, Reaper has a built-in de-esser, sibilance, debreath, EQ, and just about everything you could need. Well, there you go. There's another reason to choose Reaper. Miriam says, are you worried about AI VOs? Not at this time. Not at this time. I am still myself. I am recording as an AI for a lot of clients. So there is still hope for us. I know technology is moving fast, and there are some voice actors that are embracing the AI movement, meaning they are lending their voices to be used for AI. And I'm sure there's going to be a way to incorporate or to blend voice actors along with AI, because you can't just have the same AI voice everywhere. But then there's also the scary side where you could just take somebody's voice and use it for AI. I mean, there's a lot of factors that are still kind of in the unknown or possible, or maybe, there's still a lot of unknowns, I guess, is what I'm getting at. So at this time, I'm not really concerned so much about AI taking my voice, because as of right now, AI can speak, but it can't really perform or emote, right? It can't really do what we do in specifically like audiobook narration, right? So at this time, I'm not really worried about AI. Charles says $4.95. Oh, for Tim Tippett's audition ready course. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think I wanted to say it was about $500, but I think the 800 I was thinking of was the Isotope plugins. For some reason, they popped into my head. Thank you for that. Thank you for letting us know. Miss World Traveler says, topic, published book. You are hired to narrate. Topic, published book. You are hired to narrate. Yes. I'm not sure what you mean. You want me to talk about what happens after you're hired to narrate? I actually have, if you want to know what I think, I've actually gone through this process in a few videos here on my channel in the audiobook narration playlist, where I start from finish, even like finding a book to narrate, like doing an audition. It's the same process essentially. You record, you edit, you format, you master, and then you send off the file. It's essentially the same thing. But beyond that, there would be, invoicing the client and things of that nature. But I talk a lot about these in those videos. If you want to have like a whole video on the process and how I go through it. Christian F, try smiling. It will help with sibilants and plosives. Smiling will help with sibilants and plosives? Not really for me. I'm too articulate. Even smiling, I'm sibilant. But yeah, try it if it works. Whatever works, right? Masonry Construction says, I have been using a Samsung Q2U microphone for about a year. Has great reviews and is both micro USB and XLR inputs. Paid about $80 new. Well worth it. Well, there you go. The Samsung Q2U microphone is got some reviews. Where am I? Christian F says, I don't mean you, Angela, just as suggestions for those who need it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course I thought you meant me, but if it works, that's definitely something that you could try, because that will, widen your mouth out a little bit and probably adjust or make the sibilants a little bit less pronounced, for sure. But for me, there's no hope. Miss World Traveler, do you correct incorrect sentence structures? My friend, a teacher, he points out errors in its structure. The book, are we to read word for word regardless? Yes, you are. Because that is another reason why I stress you ask for the final edit. There's a good chance, and this has happened to me before on a few occasions, where the client has accidentally sent me an unedited version. So if you're finding typos, errors, grammatical errors, just glaring mistakes, stop, reach out to the client and say, hey, did you in fact send me the final edit of this book? If they did, then you might want to let them know that these errors are there so they in turn can then fix it. But in theory, yes, your job is to read what is there. You are not there unless they paid you to proofread the script or the manuscript, right? And to fix these things before you narrate it. If they didn't, then I would stop and let them know that these errors are there so they can fix them in their print book, their ebook, and then in turn in the audiobook version. But you don't want to just willy-nilly correct these things and not tell them. You want to make sure that they know, because if they have selected the whisper sync option for this audiobook, meaning someone can follow along with the book, with the ebook, as they're listening along, it's going to have to be something like 98% accurate, something like that. I forget exactly what the number is, but it has to be pretty much word for word, right? You can use contractions like do, not, and don't, right? You can do that sort of thing to make it flow better, but you want to make sure that it's fairly accurate to what you are reading. Michael V says there are only 11 likes for this video so far. Just saying, like the video, folks. I appreciate you, Michael. I appreciate you, Michael. Masonry construction. Upwork will escrow the funds. Oh, that's cool. So they'll hold it in escrow, just like a normal contract on Upwork. That's cool. That is a cool feature for 10%. It'd have to be something big, right, to do that. Miriam says, can you create or use Word template on invoices? On PayPal, the one that I use, there is a big section for text where you can include your own text. You'd be able to paste in, like I have, legal blah, blah in mine. So it says, I will pay you or you'll pay me or we'll mitigate and all that kind of thing. You can put that in there. So most of the invoices will have areas for you to put in your own text. Yes. Miss World Traveler says, all of you guys in here, such great questions. Yeah, most weeks we have great conversations. I'll have like the poll, and then we'll talk about the poll, but then we'll also have a lot of great questions and conversations in here. So this is still a pretty good conversations and stuff. Still using your DBX? No, not anymore. I stopped using the DBX with my Focusrite Claret because I don't want to use the noise gate anymore. That's pretty much all I was using it for anyway. But no, I'm not using it anymore. Just my Volt interface. Suze, Affirmation Candle, says, "Hello, Angela. Thank you for all you do. Who was your someone else when you were unsure about the quality of your sound? Who has the best ear to make that determination?" I would get a few opinions, but if you need like a particular go-to someone else to help you with your audio, I would look to an audio engineer. If you need help with your presets, your effects, and stuff like that to help you with your sound, definitely get an audio engineer involved. I employed Tim Tippett for that, votechguru.com. But there are several great audio engineers that are available that do just that. But if you're looking for something like performance-wise, or if there's something that is grating on the ear that you don't hear, the someone else, I would get several someone else's involved. Like if you're in a Facebook group that allows you to upload a demo for feedback, I would do that and have those people say, "Hey, or ask them, is there anything here that, catches your ear? Is there anything in here that you think that I should work on or change?" And, then adjust your audio accordingly. That's what I do. Sean Lester 007 says, "Humorous moment in VO. I came across a YouTube video with an AI voice narrating an AI generated script, errors and all, with a few hundred subscribers, likely to be bots." I have to tell you that I love watching like try not to laugh videos or, clips of interesting internet content, when they do compilations of like funny internet videos. If it's narrated by an AI, I can't listen to it. There's just no emotion and it just grates on I don't know if it's because I'm a voice actor that it irritates me so much. I don't know. But I know my partner has the same feeling and he's not a voice actor. It's just like, I can't listen to this. So, but that is funny. And you can tell when it's an AI generated script most of the time too, because it does not sound right. It just does not sound right. Although the new, the Chat GBT is pretty dang good. But yeah, that is funny. Masonry Construction says, "I've gotten requests for AI stuff, but always refuse to help the dark side." Yeah, I don't ever want to lend my voice for AI use, but I actually have a Fiverr gig where I emulate an AI voice. And that's what I do. Joy West says, "Gotta go for an appointment, Angela. Have a great day." You too, Joy. You're probably already gone, but thank you for spending some time with us today. Miriam says, "What are your booth materials made with?" This is just a weird little storage closet thing in my house that I've converted into a studio. And I've got the walls lined with moving blankets and then just, toys, toys, right? But I have moving blankets and studio foam, like those acoustic tiles, pretty much everywhere in here. I mean, I know you can't see my entire studio, but on the ceiling, the door, the floor underneath me is carpet. So minimal reflections in this room. Miss World Traveler says, "Thank you. That helps." You're welcome. Any kind of help that I can provide, that's what I'm here for. Right? Masonry Construction. "Sometimes the final draft is so dreadful with errors it needs to be rewritten or you will sound ignorant." I find that is one of the harder times for me, is when you just cannot find the flow in an audiobook when you're narrating it. If it's not edited or proofed, and it's just hard to make it sound good, right? It's hard, but you have to do your best. I know what you mean. Sometimes even with like commas and comma placement and periods or like a run-on sentence, you might thankfully, the written word and the spoken word are way two different things, right? So if you need to make it sound like if a run-on sentence could be two sentences, you might have to make it sound that way to make it make sense, right? Instead of trying to carry on with the same sentence. So it's up to you as the professional to make those decisions to make it sound as best you can. But I understand what you mean. Rowan Z says, I enjoy audiobooks because of the cozy factor. Someone's voice can make or break the experience. Even if in the future AI voices are convincing, just knowing it's not a real person would turn me away. Same, because there's no feeling. You can't relate to it. And plus, I don't like the way AI voices sound. Great on my nerves. I don't know what it is. Hat Powser says, how did you hang your moving blankets? Oh, with very large thumbtacks, like industrial strength thumbtacks. That's pretty much how they're hanging. Suze Affirmation Candle says, invoices. What important verbiage should be covered at the bottom? If you need like legal jargon, then I would have someone draw up something for you. Although I think you can find stuff like that online. I'm not exactly sure where. Of course, I am not any kind of an attorney, or I can't really give that kind of advice. But I would say, just as a business owner, you would want to say, hey, this is the agreement that we're into. Please, it has to be paid within X amount of days. Or, we might have to pursue legal action, something like that, just to make sure that you are covered. But of course, you might want to speak to a tax person, an attorney, to get proper verbiage. I can't give more advice than that. I'm not authorized or certified to. M. Todd Coyne says, I have a similar setup, 416 to DBX 286 to Audient ID 22, and use it for the gate. Yeah, that's really the only reason I used my DBX was for the gate. I had a really good noise gate. That thing works like magic for my noise floor. Yeah, same. Although every time I thought I found my sweet spot for the gate to not cut off my T's, it would still do it. From time to time, I would still hear it, and it would just annoy me. So, and then I've also had some clients notice it too. So I'm like, okay, well, I got to find some other way of doing this, because even though my room is relatively quiet, I do have a very large computer sitting right outside my door that is still picked up by my 416. You might even be able to hear it now. I don't know. But so I do need something to help me with my noise floor for audiobooks, namely. But yeah, the DBX noise gate was good for noise floor reduction for sure. And then he continues, I always thought your voice sounded like Cortana from the Halo game franchise. I have heard someone else say that before too. I also hear that I sound like Alexa and Siri. So that really lets me flex my AI voice advantage. Suze says, reflection filters, are they a waste of money? I have a concave shaped one. I'm not sure if it's truly Oh, are you talking about like the like shields that go around? They don't really do much for you. You're better off investing the time and energy into treating your entire space. Because if you think about your voice as a frequency, it's going to bounce around, right? The room that you're in, and also into the mic, creating echo. And so you want to just focus on the space that you're in and treat it appropriately with soft surfaces, right? To reduce the echo, get everything noisy away from your mic. You're better off spending your time doing that than investing in something that's only going to help a fraction of the sound in the room, right? Miriam says, what is your floor noise in this booth? Untreated, meaning I don't do any kind of processing to it. It's fairly loud because of the computer, but I would say it's probably like -65. So it's not way above the noise floor threshold for ACX. So minimal treatment in post, then I can adjust it and fix it. So no big deal. But of course, you want to do the least amount of effects or processing possible. So that's what I'm trying to achieve, is the most natural way to get myself to sound and to achieve ACX standards without having to do a whole lot of processing. Chris VGL says, is it common for an audiobook to have a simple copyright to be read out loud? Copyright information is included in the closing credits of an audiobook, right? Copyright, date, and ownership, right? Copyright by, author's name and then the year that it's been copywritten. And then sometimes you'll also have a production copyright for the audiobook production. But the copyright information is included in every audiobook in the closing credits. Mason Reconstruction says, invoices, just checked YouTube. Tons of examples. How to send an invoice for my online business. There you go. Google and YouTube can find anything that you're looking for on either one of those. YouTube is just billions of videos of information. So definitely spend some time on YouTube for some of these questions. For sure. Chris VGL says, thank you. I didn't know how to write that in. For the copyright information. Yeah. All right, guys, I think that is going to do it for today. Let's check the poll one last time, and then we will call it a day. I got work to get to. Where is my, oh, here it is. Okay. So again, today's poll again was, do you have a revision policy? So we are at 44 votes, and still a good chunk of you said yes. 43% of you said yes. 32% of you said no, and 25% of you said, what is this? I'm hoping that our conversations today have explained to you or made maybe a little bit more sense of what a revision policy is, why it's important to have it, and what verbiage to have in your revision policy. So I hope that helps y'all. But that is all I've got for you guys today. So I will see you all next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel, next Tuesday at 12 p.m. EST. And everybody have a great week, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye.